Rebecca. Whoops. There are no men to sing to. You may have to change that part. So first we'll wing it, okay? Yeah, he's great. Yeah. Happy Father's Day.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome to Unity of Charlottesville on this gorgeous, almost summer day. With everything going on in the world, we're so pleased that you took this time this morning to celebrate with us, either here in the sanctuary or virtually online. My name is Peggy Ruth. I will be your celebration assistant this morning, and I'm here with our senior minister, the wise and witty Reverend Don Lansky, and our multi-talented, wonderful music director, Blair Jones. As is our habit, we're going to open this morning with song. So Blair?
Hey, this is a hymn that I've loved since my childhood. I hope most of you will be familiar with it, but you'll catch on quickly, I think.
This is my Father's world, and to my listening ear
this is Juneteenth today as well, which celebrates the emancipation of enslaved African Americans in our country. So a big day for everybody. So Patricia and I have been at the Unity Conference all week long, online virtually. We spent a lot of time on Zoom. And I want to tell the people online, and first of all, welcome to all the people online. We really had the experience of being an online customer, sort of. And so I really want to know if you all online feel taken care of during these services. I wish that you would send me some feedback at reddawn@unitycharlottesville.org so that we can know that you're feeling taken care of. We have about 25 or so people online, and at least on a Sunday, and then many more during the week. So it's our custom here to begin with prayer, and so let us do that today. Let's just take a moment, take a deep breath. A day to celebrate our fathers, a day to celebrate being a father, a day to celebrate freedom. And we know so much going on in the world. Oh my gosh, so much. 11 million refugees now in Ukraine. Millions of people stranded in Bangladesh. So much going on in the world. So much turmoil. We come here on a Sunday morning to be together, to become centered, to remember who we are, really. To remember that the world of outer appearances is just that. Outer appearances, outer conditions. It is not the truth of who we are as human beings, not the truth of who we are as human family. That we do have the potential to come together in so many different ways to heal the things that are troubling our earth and our planet. We have that potential. We come here to remember that. We have the potential within us to be love in all of our interactions with our family and friends and coworkers. We have the ability to come away from worries and anxieties and just be centered in the truth of our being, and then take appropriate action to do what is ours to do. And we come here on a Sunday morning to remember that and to remind each other in spiritual community. And so we give great thanks for that truth. We send forth our love and our peace throughout this planet, throughout this world. And we pray in the name and after the nature of the indwelling Christ. And so it is. Amen.
I invite you to join me in our statement of faith. There
Is only one presence and one power in the universe. God the good, omnipotent.
Now is the time.
Your mic's not on. Boy, her mic's not on.
It's time for us to greet each other from a.
You speak here.
Let's try this. It's time for us to stand, greet each other from a socially distanced position, and sing our welcome song.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time.
We do.
Yay!
And Cindy's back here for you.
Have a wonderful time in Children's Church.
This is working now.
And now I invite you to join me in our mission statement. Unity of Charlottesville empowers everyone to express its unique divinity, making a positive difference in the world.
So I wrote a song this weekend about my dad to share with you, and I hope that in sharing it with you, I'll make you smile as you have some memories of your own that will no doubt come up. My inspiration for the song was, I have to confess, was a boy named Sue. But this is a very different spirit than that song. 1, 2, here we go. Well, I'm a lucky daughter. I adored my dad. There's no dad better than the dad I had. And if you met him, I know you'd agree. He was strong and handsome and full of fun, and kind and generous to everyone. Here are some of the gifts he gave me. Well, he taught me to throw and catch a ball, how to use a hammer and a drill and a saw, and to sing and harmonize in the barbershop style. And I'll never forget when I was barely 3, how he showed me that I could be the amazing ceiling-touching child. 'Cause he picked me up and he held me high. I reached my hands up to the sky, and when I touched the top of the room, how I smiled. The amazing ceiling-touching child. Diane knew, as they say, as if that weren't enough, he was always doing amazing stuff. He showed us how to dream and persevere. He rewired the house, made a barn out of a tree, and he built submarines for the U.S. Navy. And if you begged him just a little, he'd wiggle his ears. His compliments were legendary. His poems were extraordinary. He was master of the quirky rhyme. In the actions and the words he spoke, he showed me how to treat other folks. And when you needed help, he always found the time. And he picked me up, held me high. I reached my hands up to the sky. And when I touched the top of the room, how I smiled. The amazing ceiling-touching child. Oh, wouldn't it be so fine if every kid had a dad like mine, or someone who could play the father's part? I pray there's someone in your life to help you rise to the highest height, someone who believes in you with a big, big heart, who'll pick you up and hold you high. You can stretch your arms to the sky, and when you reach the top of the world, how you'll smile like the amazing, like the amazing, like this amazing ceiling-touching child. Thank you. Thank you. And that's in memory of my dad, Richard Logwood.
That's the amazing Blair. And also want to welcome, you may have noticed, we have a drummer today. Blue O'Connell's here today, joining Jim and Blair. So welcome, Blair. Welcome, Blue. All right, can you hear me in the back? Okay, good, good. I think your mic's still on.
Thank you.
So a father gets on a train with his son, and he plots this scheme to have his son ride free so that he can save some money. And so the conductor comes by, and the father gives the conductor his ticket, but he doesn't give the conductor a ticket for his son, who is 14 years old. The conductor looks at the father suspiciously, and he says, "How old is your boy?" And the father said, "He's 4 years old." The conductor says, "You know, he looks like he's at least 12. And the father says, "Can I help it if he worries?" All right. This is a joke my father would have, it's a joke my father would have told, right? Today is Father's Day, so happy Father's Day, everybody. Someone said that there are only 3 stages. All children go through 3 stages in relating to their fathers. The first stage is when they call their father Dada, and the second stage is when they call their father Daddy, and the third stage is when they call their father Collect. And I made that collect call to my father the day that I graduated from college, and he said to me, "Kid, you're on your own." And he really believed that he had fulfilled his fatherly duty. That was it. He had completed his fatherly duty. Now, I know like Mother's Day, Father's Day can be joyous and celebrative, and it can also be bittersweet, and it can also be plainly just outright bitter for some of us. It depends on our past experiences and how we've made stories, how we've created our stories about our past experiences. So I want to show you a film clip. I think that we may be having a little trouble with the sound on it, but this is a film clip where Robin Williams and Billy Crystal, their ex-girlfriend in the movie, has conned them into searching for her runaway boy and has convinced them that one of them is the father of the boy, right? So if we can just show that, turn the stage lights down a little bit.
Yeah, Nikki's the first girl that I ever loved. My father doesn't care. Now, he wouldn't let me see her anymore. He says she's bad news. She's a tramp. He says he's putting his foot down, blah, 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 blah. I mean, he never lets me explain. It's like, for absolutely no reason, he'll just take my car away.
You have a car?
Yeah.
Scott, your father is Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
You want to hear a father story?
Here comes the lecture.
No lecture. Just a true story. On my 10th birthday, my father takes me downtown to go to the circus.
Wow, what a great story.
On the way downtown, we drop my dog off at the vet. So we go to the circus, we have a great time. I come home and I go, "Hey, where's Skippy?" And they go, "Oh, we had to put him to sleep." And I said, "You mean he's dead? You killed my dog?" And he said, "Yeah, he was sick. That's why we brought him to the vet." And I said, "Why did you have to do it on my birthday?" And he said, "It was on the way."
What's the point? What is the point?
The point is that parents screw up sometimes. And that they don't mean it, and that they make mistakes because they're human beings. Doesn't mean that they don't love you, doesn't mean that they don't care. Just means that they're doing the best they can. You know? I can't eat any more of this.
Boy, I didn't understand the story either. It's okay.
Sometimes parents just screw up. Kids know it. Parents know it too, I think. And many of us I know have had wonderful and incredible relationships with our fathers, like the beautiful song that Blair sang, and some of us didn't. One thing is for sure, though, that either we are fathers or we've had fathers, right? And even if we didn't know our father, we had grandfathers or we had some male figures in our life that were role models or supportive of us at least. So Father's Day really is about everyone. Some of our fathers have been physically unavailable for a good part of our growing up years. They've been working and trying to support a family, or else they've been gone completely. My mother and father were divorced when I was 5 years old. And they stayed together and pretended to be married until I was 12 years old. And until they could really no longer stand being together anymore. This is me and my little brother. Now, I know that they stayed together that long because they really truly believed that they could give us some stability in our family growing up, that we could have some semblance of a family growing up. And we actually didn't find out about their sacrifice that they had made until we were young adults. They had kept it hidden from us till we were probably in our mid-20s. After my father left our house, he moved from Long Island to where we lived to New York City, and he would come to visit us every single Saturday, every single weekend, until we were old enough to go into the city ourselves, even when we would rather have been with our friends. And he did this out of a sense of loyalty and a sense of commitment to what he believed being a good father meant. So this is me and my dad when I was little, and this is me and my dad a little bit later on. Take a load of this hairdo here. And even though I've always loved children, and I had a minor in education, and I taught preschool for a few years after I graduated from college. I made a conscious choice not to have children. And the reason I made that choice was because I wanted to devote my life 100% to spiritual endeavors. Now, I bet those of you here who are fathers or grandfathers have had the experience that having a family like that is an incredibly spiritual experience that is joyful, fulfilling, amazingly growthful spiritually. And I believe that. And sometimes I have regrets about not having had kids, actually. And I can say that because of the remarkable fathers that I've known here at Unity. And I've been here long enough now to have seen their incredibly exceptional children grow up from infancy to graduating college and even marrying. So I know what that must be like. So what does it mean to be a good father? I can tell you that my father provided for us. He put a roof over our head. He clothed and he fed us. He put me through college. But it took me a long time to realize that spiritually and emotionally, he wasn't there. He just was not there. And I came to realize that he was like a wounded man-child. He was like the Willie Loman in The Death of a Salesman, if you remember that. He actually was a salesman, but he was also a frustrated actor. His first love, his first passion was to be an actor, which he never really got to do. I can remember a time near the end of his life when he was quite ill and he was in a wheelchair. He insisted on being wheeled to an audition to try out for a part. And so they took him to this audition. He didn't get the part, but that was his passion. So he was physically absent. He was emotionally unavailable. And I know that he was an angry man. I know that he was a shallow man. He was very judgmental, very critical. And he died without ever knowing who I was, who I am. He died without ever seeing me. But I also know that he loved me the best way that he knew how to do that. I know that. And so when I think about my spiritual growth, it is in a large part due to actually despite my father. My spiritual growth is despite my father, because I realized that I had to develop and go in search of my own spiritual resources, my own inner resources, to come to a deeper understanding of myself and for myself. And on this very long healing journey, which I give great thanks to Transcendental Meditation and to Unity and to the wonderful healers that I met along my path, I eventually came to a point of peace. I came to a point where I grew an appreciation for not only who my father was, but also for who he was not. I was able to forgive him, and I was able to let go of resentments. But I do have to say, we had some fun times. He was a great playmate. So, I will give you an example of a typical Saturday for us. That when my brother and I were young, we would go to a matinee, a movie matinee. As soon as it was done, we would run over to the hockey game at Madison Square Garden, and as soon as the hockey game was over, we would run to another movie. Right? Just running all the way, just making it at the very moment that the next event began, and eating along the way also. We'd pick up a hot dog on the street and just keep running along and running along. That was a typical day with my dad. Now, it's common for us in Unity to think of Father's Day as a celebration of the father principle. And this is what Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, was, or what he said was the father principle. He said that the father principle is the exact and immutable principle of being, lying back of all existence and all cause. And while Fillmore used the word father mind to mean the complete totality, the complete unlimited potential of God, he and Myrtle Fillmore, the other co-founder of Unity, also recognized that the totality of God must include both the divine masculine and the divine feminine as well. And so today we celebrate the divine masculine, that quality of father which exists within each one of us, because it's a universal law, it's a universal principle. And we think of divine masculine qualities as qualities of protection, qualities of providing, the activity, the dynamic activity of God, the strength of God. And the reason I mention this is because, as I said earlier, some of us have not had the best experiences or the happiest times with our dads. And if you're in this category, I want to invite you to consider another possible way of looking at Father's Day, a way that honors the father principle, which is the divine idea of father. That aspect of father which Jesus refers to when he says, "It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." That aspect of the father which is exemplified in the parable of the prodigal son. And you remember in that story, the father welcomes the wayward son home, and the son with unconditional love. And the son asks for the father's forgiveness, and the father can't give forgiveness. He doesn't give forgiveness because he never condemned in the first place. There was no need to forgive. That's what unconditional love of the Father is. Even if it's not been the case with our own fathers, our own real fathers. So I also know that many of you have had beautiful and close and immeasurably close relationships with your fathers, that there was a level of closeness and just love that was there. And so what I'd like to do is kind of open the space up for sharing at this time. I want to invite anyone who wants to come up and share something about your father, but I do have some specific questions in mind. And here's what I'd like you to consider and to answer if you are willing. How has my father or grandfather or other male figure informed, supported, or inspired me on my spiritual journey? Or how has being a father or being a grandfather informed, supported, or inspired me on my spiritual journey? Okay, those two questions, either one of those. So I have a microphone here, and you need to come up on stage so that people can see you that are online, and I'm wondering if anyone is willing to share that. Just tell a story. Now, keep in mind that I'm going to ask you to be brief so that other people have an opportunity to share. And please don't be offended if I ask you to cut it a little bit short, okay? So is anyone willing to come up and share something about your father in light of this? Shirley, come on up. I'm going to leave this here. Some people feel better with something in front of them. so here we go.
Hello. I'm grateful for the opportunity to just speak for less than a minute about an amazing man who's my father. He's 92. He has Parkinson's, and he lives in assisted living nearby, and I see him every day. He was an amazing father when I was young. He encouraged me to dance, and I danced, and I tap danced. I was in recitals, and he encouraged me to learn classical piano, which I still play today, and I gave a concert in his assisted living, and that was a beautiful thing in his honor. I tried to write his Father's Day card this morning, and it was...
I'm sorry, can you use this instead?
Okay.
Thanks.
I tried to write his Father's Day card this morning, and it was hard to come up with words, so I won't try here to do that either. But I guess I want to suffice it to say that all that he did for me in all the years that we've had together, having lost my mother, having lost my only sister, we're all that we have. I'm just amazed at the circle of life, that now I bring him groceries and I do his laundry and I take care of him in the best way I know how. And it is such an honor to do that. When he can't speak, he can't walk, he can't write, but he reads with one eye blind and keeps at physical therapy and all of that because he has a will to live. And that is so inspirational to me, to literally witness someone showing what the will to live looks like. I could go on, but I'll stop there, and I thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, come up.
Well, I grew up on farms in Texas. So my daddy was a farmer, so was my mother. And in fact, all of us were, because it took a family to do that. But my memories of my dad was that he was, like the strong person there, always for us. And but I don't recall him ever hugging me. That's not a memory. But I felt his love anyway. One of my first memories, well, not the first, but one of the first, is they like to dance. We'd go dancing at people's houses, in their living rooms. They'd move the furniture out of the way, and a couple of people would play guitar and fiddle, and so we'd dance. Well, I wanted to dance, but I was only 3 years old. So Daddy put me on his feet, and he danced with me on his feet. And that's how I learned the two-step, country's two-step. Well, I guess that's how I learned. But anyway, yeah, he was very strong, and of course, working on a farm all that time. And then we finally moved to a ranch, and it was hard work. But he was strong and was able to carry on no matter what. And he took us through the whole time, no matter whether it was dust storms blowing the heck out of us or droughts or whatever, or sometimes we had enough rain to make it. So he was always there and always strong for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Why don't you say your first name, too, so people can know who you are?
Hi, I'm Patsy Asuncion. I'm a first-generation biracial immigrant from inner city Chicago. My father was Leopoldo Miguel Asuncion, a World War II naturalized American soldier from the Philippines. And one of the fondest memories I have of my father was dancing at Rizal Day dances. Rizal was like George Washington of the Philippines, and every holiday season around December, we would dance in the ballrooms in Chicago. And my father was quite the dancer, and that's how I learned ballroom dancing from him. And he was quite joyous. And he was the only one who raised me. My Irish, that's where I get the curly hair. My Irish mother abandoned me when I was, before I was 2 years old. So I grew up in inner city Chicago with him as a cook, and with different Filipinos in that neighborhood watching over me. And it was my father's strength over all those many years. He lived to be 1 month shy of 96, and he was always with me. Thank you.
Come on up. And are there any men who might speak to being a father or being a grandfather that might be willing to come up after Jane?
Hi, I'm Jane. I've talked about my father before, but today I want to honor my grandfather, Paul Zimmer, because I've had a kind of a reevaluation. I had told a story, and Don mentioned that in his message about the stories that we tell. The story that I had about my grandfather was that I just hated him, and and it was because he favored my older sister, and so this isn't Sister's Day, it's Father's Day, but I could tell you stories, and I won't, about difficult karma between me and my sister. So that actually affected my memories, and I was really leaning toward the negative stories, times when I felt overlooked, or times when I felt jealous, or times, it was just a real hardship. And I remember when he died, I was like, oh, I don't even want to go to the funeral. It was difficult. Now I've reevaluated who he was, and I've accessed beautiful memories of him. He was so talented, and he was so handsome. He was just gorgeous. He was a World War I vet, and there's pictures of him as a young man, and he's really, really handsome. He could have been a movie star. But he he was a painter and a carpenter, and I think in selecting my beloved husband, he resonates with the talent of my grandfather. The other thing that I remember today especially is how he loved his flower garden, and he had bird houses which he constructed himself and painted, and he was always fiddling around with carpentry projects, and like he made us an amazing sandbox, and now I look at him. Oh, and one more other thing, and then I'll be quiet. The other really significant thing about him is that when my grandmother died, he remarried a woman who was much younger than him, and she was a Christian Scientist, and she was my introduction to metaphysics, and so they both hold a very special place in my heart. So anyway, thank you for letting me share.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Janice. I had no idea I was going to be sharing this today. I hope I can get through it. My father grew up on a farm in a little town called Cuba, Missouri, outside of St. Louis. So he was very physically strong, really incredibly physically strong. He was also very mentally and intellectually strong. He went to the Naval Academy, was the editor of the yearbook. He went on to graduate school at MIT. I met friends of his who were in class with him who said he was the best at math of anybody they'd ever seen. He was also very humble. I didn't know he went to graduate school at MIT until I was an adult. I was just told, oh, I just took a few classes. And he completed graduate school there. Everything he did in the Navy was top secret. He was used for his brain. He was a patriot. He was committed to his country. I didn't care for the Navy growing up, as you can imagine, because he was always gone. When he was present, like Don's father, he loved to play with us as kids, but something kind of shifted as we got older, and he became more detached, and he rarely talked about himself. He rarely let us know him. But yet, it wasn't, you could see the love in his eyes. You could see the love in his eyes. He never said a bad word about anybody. He was that kind of man. Just constant, steady emotionally. And so I longed to know my dad. I longed to know him better. But he wasn't about that. So in 2000, in May, he was diagnosed. Imagine this man who all his life was known to be so brilliant. He died from a brain tumor, the glioblastoma, the most aggressive brain tumor a human being can get. We were told at the time it's the one that Ted Kennedy died from. It's the one that the kind that Ted Kennedy died from. It's the kind that John McCain died from. I was devastated at the diagnosis, devastated. It was 49 days from the diagnosis when he passed. And I was there every step of the way. I took his x-rays to Johns Hopkins, trying to see if they'd do an experimental treatment on him, and they said, it's too far gone. They literally saw me. I couldn't believe it. I walked into the area in the hospital. They saw me, and they looked at his x-rays. They said, too far gone. So I was with him the whole way, and he was still there for, about 20 to 25 days, enough. I took him to the movies. There was a movie with Matthew McConaughey out at the time where he was on a submarine. It was the first time ever I saw my father cry at the end of that movie because he spent many, many, many years on submarines. And so the spiritual benefit from his decline and death is that he finally let me know him. He finally let me know him. And he taught me a lot about the dying process. And, he was just, again, like he was in life, just steadfast through the whole thing. I asked him if he was afraid, and he nodded yes. And I got one last hug from him. In the hospital, he wasn't communicating at all, but he was still conscious. He was looking at the ceiling and reaching up. And I looked at him and I said, who do you see? What do you see? Is it your brother? It's your brother, because his brother died in his 50s. He didn't respond, but I hugged him, and his arm came down on top of me, and I got one last hug. And he passed soon after that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any brave dads or grandfathers who want to come speak? Peter, come on.
I'll speak to the second half of this, how being a father, grandfather, has made a difference in my spiritual journey.
Come over this way a little bit so you'll be on the camera. Okay.
Oh, okay. So, my own father, his personality was, I'm sure there's a name for this in psychology, but he derived power by kind of sucking it out of other people. And, I was acutely aware of this. So when I had my own kids, I made a conscious effort to develop some way of empowering them without their kind of knowing I was doing that. So I invented this character named Mr. McGregor, who was going to teach them how to speak correctly. And Mr. McGregor would say, now repeat after me, the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain. And they would they would mess it up, and Mr. McGregor would get all flustered. Anyway, this little game, it kind of handed power over to them. Well, years went by, and I eventually became a grandfather. And it just so happened that I was retired at the time, and my daughter asked me if I wanted to be my granddaughter's Maggie, if I wanted to be Maggie's nanny, because she had to go back to work. Both parents had to work. And I was like, yeah, this is like the perfect opportunity. And again, I was acutely aware that this little person, 6 months old at the time, was going to be with me more than she was going to be with her parents. So, I had this huge feeling of responsibility for how she was going to develop. So I again made this conscious effort to, like, in different little ways, to empower her. And she probably doesn't know that I was doing this, but if you met her now, you would you could tell she's got this very strong sense of, like, her own power. And
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. I'd like to try something. I want to invite, if you're willing, I'd like to invite all of the women in the sanctuary right now to come forward. If you would, no, before you do that, if you would be willing, and I'm inviting us to sing to the men. And the song that we'll be singing, Blair will teach it to you, is called The Face of God, and we have the words here. You can come up, you can spread out, you can wear your masks, you can, if you don't feel comfortable being so close, you can spread out in front of the stage. Are you willing to do that? Raise your hand if you're willing to do that, women. Oh, come on up. And Hal, can you help me hand out some, okay. Well, okay, he's going to do that. So here's the words. So pass these down.
You got to come up here.
Some people have to come up so the people can see you on stage.
Come on up. Come on up.
We need some more people on stage so people can see you.
Can't be on YouTube. They can't feel comfortable. Come on, Rita. Come on, Rita.
Everybody have words? Any more bold people? Okay, great. So, well, let me get this up. So here's what I'd like to invite you to do. Goodness, I'm trapped. We're celebrating the father principle. So I want to invite you to, first of all, to honor the gentlemen, the men that are here who are fathers and grandfathers and have the father principle within them. And also you can think of your own fathers, you can think of your own supportive males in your life, your own grandfathers as well as we sing this, okay? Blair?
You have to go down there too.
Oh, I do. You're right. I absolutely do. Hold on.
We've done this one before, and you probably recognize it. It's like this. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. Sing that again. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. Sing the second verse now. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of God. Sing that again. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of God. Sing the last line again. You are my family. You are the face of God.
Oh, thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you all. It's beautiful. So let's prepare for meditation. We're going to begin our meditation by singing the Lord's Prayer. So feel free to join us. Our Father, settle in more deeply for this time of meditation. I know we didn't have enough time really for everyone to share, and maybe there was something on your heart or that you would have liked to have shared. So I want to invite you to consider some questions in this meditation. What is one precious memory that you have about your father, something that really illuminated your life, something that made you laugh or made you cry? Or something that showed you or gave you a deeper insight about your father, about who you are in the world? Or what did your father or your father figure or your grandfather give you or show you that manifested as a quality in you that defines what you bring to life, what you bring to the world? Or what about your father moved and touched and inspired you? Or if you're a father or if you're a grandfather, how has it changed your life? So I invite you just to pick one of these questions and just reflect on this in the silence as we go into the silence right now, in the silence. So regardless of our childhood, regardless of our upbringings, regardless of whether we had wonderful, loving relationships with our dads or not so, we are here. We thrived, we grew, we survived, we are stronger, we are stronger. And so we give great thanks for all of our experiences, the pleasant and the wonderful and the positive and the not so pleasant and the not so wonderful. We give thanks for this Father principle, which in its divine form we know is about these positive qualities of protection and providing and strength that each one of us possesses. We give great thanks for the fathers and for the grandfathers and for the male figures in our lives who have nurtured us and strengthened us and supported us, taught us. We give great thanks, and we pray in the name and after the nature of the indwelling Christ, and so it is. Amen. Please take time then to open your eyes when it feels comfortable.
I don't know about you, but Dom, thank you. What a wonderful opportunity to take a deeper dive into the relationship that we had or have with our Father, with the Father figures in our lives. I hope you all were touched as deeply as I was by that experience this morning. Well, now we have an opportunity to give our tithes and our offerings. Unity of Charlottesville is totally supported by your gifts and your offerings. So while you're preparing for that, is there anyone here in the sanctuary this morning for the first time? Welcome, welcome. We're so glad that you're here today. There's information in the narthex about Unity and this Unity Church. Reverend Don would be so happy to speak with you after the service. And if you're seeing this service for the first time, we invite you to join us here in the sanctuary for a service or a class. And there are many ways to give. Here in the sanctuary, Linda's going to be coming around with the butterfly basket after we bless our offerings. But you can text as well. It's okay to use your phone here in the sanctuary. You can also mail a check into the church office, or you can give online. But texting is so easy. So let's take our offering.
Before we do that, we just also want to mention our challenge for the summer that began last week, our unexpected income challenge, that if you're not familiar with the practice of tithing, sometimes it's scary to think of giving up 10% of what you make and 10% of your income, which is what tithing is all about. But this is an unexpected income. This means that if you find a penny on the sidewalk, or if someone owes you money that you forgot about and gave it back to you, that you're agreeing to give 10%, to tithe 10% of that to Unity. And there's a bunch of prayers here, and it's kind of just a fun challenge. And if you'd like to sign on to it, we welcome the opportunity to see you do that.
The last time we did this challenge, we received well over $1,000, I think it was, in unexpected income. So that means you all experienced more than $10,000 of cash you didn't expect. So it's a fun way to draw prosperity into your life. Okay, let's bless our offerings together. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
We want you to join us on this song. It has two parts. And the first part, when we're singing that, that will be indicated by the praise singers with one. We'll teach that to you. And then the second part is traditionally sung by the women. That would be part 2. So first we'll sing part 1 with you. Ready, and... Here we go. I am one with the heart of the Mother. I am one with the heart of God. I am one with the heart of the Father. I am one with God. I am one with the heart of the Mother. I am one with the heart of God. I am one with the heart of the Father. I am one with God. Here's part 2. One with
Time for a few announcements. We have a midweek faith service on Wednesday nights from 6:30 to 7 on Zoom. It's a very powerful group of individuals, and we have had some fabulous results of healing and all kinds of things. So we invite you to tune in on Zoom on Wednesdays at 6:30.
And this is the last week to sign up for Jing's Kundalini Yoga class. Jing, you want to come up and just say a few words? You have to register online, and you can do all 5 sessions, or you can do 1 session. And come on up.
Hey, our space is filled with love. My heart is wide open. It's honored to share my practice. So I just found out our church is probably going to be the only place to order Kundalini Yoga in town after the pandemic. I searched around. There's no place, at least I didn't find, to take a Kundalini Yoga class. I'm a certified Kundalini Yoga teacher. Kundalini Yoga has been referred to as the yoga of the soul. So if you're curious, if you want to share this with your friends and family, I have flyers, and this is also outside. You can scan and get more information. The class is next Saturday at 11 downstairs. So hope to see you, many of you there.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks. And we also have a workshop. Next Sunday, Ginger Collier will be doing a workshop on the writings of Fran Parker. These are channeled materials about for awakening humans, and Ginger has a message here for you.
Everybody, I'm Ginger Collier, and I welcome all of you to a very exciting interactive dialogue after the service, beginning at 1 to 3 o'clock on Sunday, a week from today, in which we'll be talking about 2 channeled books that are full of all kinds of wonderful messages. One is God's Gift to Gaia, and the other one is Jesus Joins the Dialogue. And we're going to discuss these books. They're part of the book study that's an ongoing one, Unity book study. And the messages are very exciting. We're going to have a lot to talk about the new earth, and in spite of our chaotic times, how fantastic, how much progress we're making in actually getting to the new earth, the transformation that's taking place. So I welcome all of you. This will be my first time away from home since March 2020, and I'm looking forward to being with all our wonderful Unity community again, in person. Okay.
So we'll look forward to seeing Ginger. She and Wayne have been online since March of 2020. They're here with us practically every week, but they're online, so it'll be great to see Ginger in person. And that's 1 to 3 right here. And we're hoping to have fellowship once a month. We would have fellowship every week if someone would step up to do that, but right now we have only someone to do that once a month, first Sunday. So that'll be our next time for fellowship downstairs.
And we are in the process of renaming the UHHC building, which is at the front portion of the church. We'd love your input. So if you're inspired to share a name, there's a box in the narthex. Please write it down and put it in the box so that the board can consider your suggestion. Thank you.
Next week will be the last week for that. So if you have some ideas, please let us know.
And we also have many opportunities to volunteer here at Unity of Charlottesville. The blessing team, those are the wonderful individuals that greet you when you arrive every Sunday. They could use some new energy. The bookstore has some opportunities. That's how I got started. I was brand new in town and tried to buy a daily word, and the bookstore was closed. And I asked Reverend Maria why I couldn't buy a daily word, and she said, "Let me introduce you to Don Brady." Look at where I am now. So I have made so many wonderful friends by volunteering. Join us.
And of course, pastoral care. If anyone is in need, please just let us know. Call me or call our office.
And we do have virtual fellowship after the service. That will be on Zoom. While the service is not on Zoom, virtual fellowship is. So hop over to that site if you would like to join.
So Tracy,
Sindri has absconded with your children. So she's happy about that. So let me just let everybody know, for families that are watching, there is a family hike next Saturday, June 25th at 9 o'clock. And I think they're gathering here, and then they're going to go over to Ivy Creek. So anyone is welcome to join that, but that'll be Saturday night at 9 o'clock. And let us bless our children, since they're not here. Mark Boston will be back with us next week. So together, children, Uniteens, YOUers, teachers, and parents, you are loved, special, and important wherever you are. If we could have the healing helpers back in this corner, and Peggy is here if anyone wants to have individual prayers right after the service. I want to thank everybody, thank Boyan and Greg and Maggie, and thank our blessing teams, Maria and Cindy and Linda Jewell, and welcome to Blue. It's good to have you here. Thank you so much.
Blue's going to be with us on a regular basis, so you'll see her a lot.
Great. Thanks. And to all our musicians, Jim and Blair and Janice and Rhonda and John, thank you everybody. So let's stand and join in our prayer for protection. And together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and wherever God is, all is well. And thank you, Peggy. Thank you for being the CA. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Let there be peace on earth, what we said was meant to be. With God as Creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Happy Father's Day, everybody. Have a great week.